Nobody saw this coming, not even the insiders. Just when the dust seemed to settle between love and hip-hop's most notorious families, Kirk Frost threw a firebomb straight into Mendeecees' world. In a shocking late-night reveal that's already gone viral, Kirk didn't just spill tea. He uncorked a boiling pot of scandal that could destroy alliances, friendships, and reputations forever. According to Kirk, a mysterious night involving a model, Mendeecees, and a forced overnight stay isn't just rumor, it's fact. And now, the streets, the fans, and even the cast are scrambling to process what this means. Was it a misunderstanding? A setup? Or has Mendeecees been hiding a side of himself no one was ready to see? As emotions run high and reactions pour in from every corner of social media, questions are exploding like fireworks. What really happened that night? Why is Kirk choosing now to expose this? And most importantly, what will Yandy do when the truth finally slaps her front and center? Strap in, because what you're about to hear isn't just another reality show scandal. This might be the one that finally tears the empire apart. Under the soft glow of an event spotlight, everything seemed normal. Kirk Frost arrived with Rashida by his side, rocking a polished calmness that betrayed nothing of what he was about to unleash. Cameras were rolling, cast members were mingling, and the usual love and hip-hop energy buzzed through the room. But beneath Kirk's collected exterior was a storm ready to erupt. For weeks, whispers had haunted the backstage corners. Whispers of a model, a hotel room, and one man caught in the middle of it all. And now, Kirk was done whispering. It started with a look. Kirk's eyes locked onto Mendeecees from across the room, and for a split second, everything stopped. No music, no chatter, just tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Mendeecees raised a brow, confused but calm. Kirk approached slowly, not with the swagger of reality TV drama, but with the quiet intensity of someone holding a loaded truth. "So we gonna act like nothing happened?" Kirk said under his breath, just loud enough for nearby cameras to catch. Mendeecees stiffened. "What you talking about, Kirk?" he responded, trying to brush it off, but the flicker of unease in his eyes didn't go unnoticed. "That night, that girl, that hotel. You remember now?" That sentence hit like a punch to the gut. Eyes from surrounding cast members snapped toward them. Rashida's head turned sharply. Yandy, who had been laughing nearby, froze mid-smile. The name of the model wasn't even mentioned yet, but the silence screamed it all. Something real was going down. Mendeecees chuckled nervously, rubbing his chin. "You got some wild imagination, man." But Kirk wasn't smiling. "Nah, I got facts." According to Kirk, it all began during an industry party in Atlanta 2 weeks prior. Mendeecees showed up alone, claiming he needed space to recenter. The event was packed with influencers, models, and a few reality TV alumni. Among them was a model known only as Tina, whose Instagram following had exploded overnight after she was seen hanging around Mendeecees that evening. Kirk recounted how he'd overheard a conversation between two security guards at the ICE after-party venue, speaking about how Mendeecees left the building with Tina around 2 a.m. Later, at the hotel lobby, Kirk claimed he personally saw the two checking into a suite together. What made it worse? Tina allegedly looked hesitant, even scared, and was clutching her phone like she'd just messaged someone in distress. "She didn't even want to be there," Kirk said, his voice low but sharp. "You forced her to stay. I saw it." Mendeecees' face changed. No more casual smile, no more jokes, just tight lips and clenched fists. "That's a lie, and you know it." Kirk took a step closer. "So why'd she leave crying the next morning?" Gasps, literal gasps filled the room. Juju covered her mouth. Safari looked at the camera crew, unsure whether to intervene or stay back. The energy had shifted, and it was no longer about TV. This was personal. Yandy stepped in, voice shaking. "You're accusing him of something real dangerous, Kirk." "Then tell him to deny it straight," Kirk shot back. "No dancing around it, just say it." Mendeecees looked around, and for the first time, he didn't seem confident. He looked tired, like a man cornered by something he thought would stay buried. Rashida pulled Kirk back gently, whispering, "Not here," but Kirk wasn't letting it go. "Nah, they deserve to know. We all do. We stand next to this man every season, and we don't even know what he's capable of." Yandy's eyes filled with tears, not because of guilt, but confusion. "Mendeecees, just tell me, what is going on?" The moment broke when production stepped in, pausing the shoot for safety concerns. But the damage was already done. Rumors were flying by the time everyone stepped outside. Twitter was on fire. Fans were already piecing together screenshots, locating Tina's past posts and matching outfits to the night in question. Within hours, the internet had its theory, and it was brutal. While Yandy tried to collect herself in the car, Kirk was seen pacing outside on a phone call. Insiders claim he was talking to Tina directly. "I told you I wouldn't let it slide," he allegedly said. "They all go and see what really happened." But the story didn't stop there. It was just beginning. Because what Kirk didn't know was that someone else saw what happened that night too. Someone with a reason to stay quiet until now. And that person was ready to talk. This is where it got deeper. Secrets from the past started resurfacing. Friendships were about to be tested. And what Kirk exposed wasn't just about one night. It was about the kind of man Mendeecees really was behind the scenes. And just as Kirk walked off set, a producer caught him and asked, "You sure you want to go public with this?" Kirk turned back, jaw set, and replied, "I already did." The fallout was instant and brutal. As the night wore on, social media turned into a wildfire of speculation and fury. Dar Mendeecees exposed began trending before sunrise, and even those outside the love and hip-hop world were chiming in. Bloggers started digging. Tina's old posts were suddenly viral. One blurry photo from a hotel hallway showed a man with Mendeecees' exact build walking beside a woman with long, straight hair, her head down, phone in hand. It wasn't proof, but it was fuel, and the internet didn't need proof to choose sides. Back at home, Yandy sat in silence. The house was quiet, but her mind was roaring. Kirk's words echoed in her head over and over again. She didn't even want to be there. That sentence crawled under her skin. It wasn't just about cheating anymore. It was about force, power, control. And she didn't know who to believe. Mendeecees came home late, avoiding eye contact as he tossed his jacket on the chair. "You really buying into Kirk's lies?" he asked, voice already defensive. Yandy didn't answer immediately. She was staring at her phone, replaying the footage from earlier that day. "Why didn't you deny it straight to his face?" she finally asked. Mendeecees sighed, running a hand down his beard. "Because I was caught off guard. I didn't want to blow up on camera. That's what they want." "But did you?" Her voice was a whisper, barely audible. "Did you make her stay?" He shook his head. "I didn't make anyone do anything." But the hesitation in his tone betrayed him. It wasn't just the words. Yandy had known him long enough to read the silence between his sentences. She got up slowly and walked into the bedroom, closing the door behind her. It wasn't a breakup. It wasn't a fight. It was worse. It was a crack. A crack. Elsewhere, Kirk was busy preparing receipts. If people thought he'd drop a bomb without backup, they didn't know Kirk Frost. The next morning, he went live on Instagram, holding nothing back. "I tried to keep this off social media," he began. "But since folks think I'm clout chasing, let me show y'all what really went down." He played a voicemail. Tina's voice, shaky and soft. "Kirk, thank you for checking on me that night. I didn't know how to leave without causing a scene. I just felt stuck. I didn't feel safe." It wasn't long, but it didn't need to be. The comments exploded. Fans were in shock. Bloggers clipped it, posted it, reacted to it. And just like that, Kirk had control of the narrative. Even those who previously doubted him were now leaning in. Safari went live too, looking visibly rattled. "Look, man, I ain't here to pick sides, but I was at that party, and I saw Mendeecees leave with her. That's all I'm gonna say." Juju, who had always defended Yandy, posted a cryptic story. "Sometimes the truth ain't pretty, but it's still the truth." Meanwhile, Mendeecees was scrambling. His team put out a generic statement calling the accusations irresponsible and false. But the damage was already in motion. Brands started pulling back. A charity appearance got canceled. And fans started noticing that Tina had gone completely offline. Her account wiped clean, no posts, no stories, nothing, Rashida called Kirk that afternoon. "Are you sure we're doing the right thing?" she asked quietly. "This could ruin everything." "Everything was already ruined," Kirk replied. "I'm just making sure nobody forgets who did it." But behind Kirk's righteous rage was something more complicated. Some insiders claimed he had a personal reason to come for Mendeecees. That this wasn't just about the model, but a long brewing resentment between the two men. Years of competition, side eyes, and quiet power plays. And this incident, It was just the match to the gasoline. Later that week, another twist hit the headlines. A hotel employee came forward anonymously, claiming to have seen Tina visibly upset the next morning, sitting in the lobby alone for over an hour. She looked like she'd been crying, the source said. We asked if she needed help, and she just shook her head. Again, not proof, but enough to keep the story alive. And with each new whisper, Mendeecees' image was crumbling faster. Production on the next season was temporarily halted as the network scrambled to address the scandal. Some producers wanted to cut the storyline entirely to avoid legal trouble. Others argued it was too explosive to ignore. Fans were already demanding an official statement from Yandy, and some even began tagging sponsors, urging them to take action. Yandy, still silent, finally broke down during a phone call with her mother. "I don't know what to believe anymore," she said, her voice cracking. "I built my life around this man, and now I'm questioning everything." Her mother's response was gentle but firm. Truth don't always come with a warning. Sometimes it comes loud. And this one? Baby, it's screaming. And just when it seemed like the dust might settle, a new video surfaced. Blurry, shaky, recorded through a hallway mirror. It showed a man believed to be Mendeecees knocking on a hotel room door, glancing around nervously, then stepping inside. Within minutes, the internet lit up again. Fans debated its authenticity. Body language experts weighed in. And Kirk? He just tweeted 3 words. "Told y'all already?" The storm was far from over. And what came next would turn this scandal from explosive to unforgettable. The days that followed were a whirlwind of chaos, speculation, and emotional wreckage. No one could escape it. Not Mendeecees, not Yandy, and certainly not Kirk Frost. The video had changed everything. While it didn't show what happened inside the room, the fact that it captured Mendeecees entering a hotel suite late at night, alone with no context, was enough to crack the internet wide open. His loyal fans were suddenly silent. Even the ones defending him had switched from "he would never" to "he better have a damn good explanation." Mendeecees, facing mounting pressure, finally addressed the situation publicly through a pre-recorded statement posted on his Instagram. "I ain't perfect," he began, seated in a dark room, wearing a hoodie with the strings pulled tight. "I've made mistakes in my past, and if I could take some things back, I would. But what y'all not gonna do is paint me into a monster off a rumor in a moment." He didn't deny being at the hotel. He didn't deny being with the model. What he did deny was any wrongdoing. She wanted to be there. That's all I'm saying. Whatever people think they saw or heard, it ain't the whole story. But it was too little, too late. The internet had already judged him, and in the court of public opinion, silence or half-truths equaled guilt. Meanwhile, Kirk wasn't slowing down. If anything, he was doubling down. He released a second voicemail, longer this time, allegedly from Tina herself. In the message, Tina could be heard sobbing quietly. "I thought he was a good guy. I didn't expect things to go that way. I wanted to leave. And he wouldn't let me. He said cameras were everywhere and it'd look bad. I felt trapped." The words weren't just heartbreaking, they were devastating. And now, the network had no choice but to step in. They issued a brief statement acknowledging the ongoing allegations involving 2 cast members and promised to conduct an internal review. Backstage, cast members were being contacted one by one, asked for their takes, their memories, their opinions. Some, like Spice and Mimi, stayed completely silent. Others, like Carly Red, were ready to talk. "I always felt like Mendeecees had 2 faces," she said during a radio interview. "There's the TV version, and then there's the real version. I'm not surprised by any of this." Yandy, still reeling, avoided the press entirely. But she didn't avoid her best friend Juju, who showed up at her house with snacks, wine, and a shoulder to cry on. "You don't have to say anything," Juju whispered as Yandy broke down in tears. "Just let it out." And she did. For the first time since the news broke, Yandy let herself fall apart. She cried for her reputation, for her family, for the man she thought she knew. "I defended him against everybody," she sobbed. "I stood by him through jail, through all the rumors, and this is how he does me?" Juju held her hand, but even she didn't have the words to make it okay. But then, just as things were spiraling, an unexpected twist arrived. A direct message surfaced online, allegedly from Tina's close friend, claiming that Kirk Frost wasn't telling the whole truth either. Ask Kirk why he was even at that hotel in the first place. The message read, "He ain't no hero. He had his own reasons to blow this up." Fans were stunned. Could Kirk have had his own motives? Was this personal beef disguised as moral outrage? Suddenly, attention shifted. Old footage was being re-examined. People started pointing out subtle digs Kirk had made at Mendeecees in past seasons. Comments like, "Some folks act like kings but can't control their own castles," now took on new meaning. Even Rashida began looking at her husband sideways. "This wasn't just about justice, was it?" she asked one night. "You've been waiting to do this." Kirk didn't respond immediately. He just took a deep breath and stared out the window. "He crossed me a long time ago," he finally said. I just never had the chance to remind him. The cracks in everyone's relationships were widening. Mendeecees felt betrayed. Yandy felt lost. Kirk felt vindicated, but also exposed. And then a bombshell dropped. A third party. A security. Guard from the hotel stepped forward with surveillance footage never seen before. The clip, shown to producers but not released publicly, allegedly showed Tina leaving the hotel room alone, crying, and calling someone on her phone. The timestamp matched Kirk's original claim. This was no longer just about drama. This was heading into dangerous territory. Lawyers got involved. The network sent out cease and desist letters. Cast members were warned to keep quiet, but it was already too late. The fans knew too much, and they wanted more. An anonymous user on Reddit even posted what they claimed was a text exchange between Mendeecees and Tina, showing him apologizing for the way things went down and telling her, "You know I didn't mean to scare you." If real, it was the nail in the coffin. The season, already shot in part, was now being re-edited. Producers scrambled to frame the narrative carefully, balancing truth, legality, and public outrage. But Kirk? He'd already won the internet. He posted one last story to his Instagram, a black screen with white text that simply read, "Don't. Protect what you wouldn't want your daughter to go through." And with that, the silence became louder than anything ever spoken. While the online world kept spinning in chaos, the real-life consequences were quietly building behind the scenes. What began as a scandal had now mutated into a full-blown crisis. Not just for Mendeecees, but for the entire love and hip-hop brand. The network's legal team met behind closed doors, sifting through hours of footage, social media commentary, and internal notes. And at the center of it all was one glaring question: who knew what and when? And when? Mendeecees, increasingly isolated, had gone completely dark. No posts, no stories, not even his closest friends could reach him. According to one insider, he was holed up in a rental property outside Atlanta, trying to get his head right and figure out how to fix this. But with every passing day, it was getting harder to tell what fixing even meant. The narrative had slipped out of his hands, and he was no longer the man defending himself. He was the man being discussed. Yandy, meanwhile, was facing a storm of her own. Brands she had partnerships with were calling her team, gently suggesting they'd pause any upcoming promotions. Speaking engagements were canceled. A children's charity she regularly worked with asked her not to attend a planned fundraiser, citing media sensitivity. None of it was her doing, but all of it was her burden. And through it all, the question that haunted her most wasn't whether Mendeecees had done it. It was how much she had ignored to keep their image intact. "He's been lying by omission for years," she said to Juju during another private moment. "And I kept telling myself it was just the cost of love. But now I think maybe I was in love with a mask." Juju didn't argue. She didn't try to spin it. She just nodded, because sometimes truth didn't need commentary, just space. But just when it seemed like the storm might reach a breaking point, the model at the center of it all, Tina, reactivated her Instagram. No captions, no filters. Just a single black and white photo of herself looking straight into the camera, her eyes swollen, her expression blank. Within 5 minutes, the comment section exploded. Support, hate, questions. Some begged her to speak out. Others told her to stay strong. But one comment stood out above all: tell your truth, even if it shakes everything. The next morning, she did. In a 7-minute video posted to her page, Tina sat in front of a plain white wall. No glam, no distractions. "Mike, never asked to be part of this," she began, her voice steady but soft. "I never wanted this to be a public thing. I didn't expect Kirk to speak for me. I didn't ask for that. But I also didn't expect the man I trusted to treat me the way he did. She didn't use Mendeecees' name directly, but there was no doubt who she meant. I was scared. I didn't feel like I could leave. I felt like if I walked out, something worse would happen. And even now, I don't feel safe saying more than that. She ended the video by turning off the camera mid-sentence, leaving thousands of viewers sitting in silence, staring at a black screen, unsure whether to cry or scream. Mendeecees' team issued another statement, this time noticeably softer. They didn't deny her experience. Instead, they said they were deeply sorry to hear of anyone feeling unsafe in any context involving our client, and that he is open to having this addressed privately and respectfully. But the fans weren't satisfied, and neither was Kirk Frost. "Don't act humble now," he wrote in a now-deleted tweet. "When you had the chance to speak like a man, you folded." Production teams resumed filming, but everything had changed. Storylines were rewritten, confessionals were delayed. Even some cast members refused to continue filming until things were handled. And then, the most unexpected twist of all, Rashida confronted Kirk. "You dragged this into the light like it was about justice," she said one night after dinner. "But be honest with me, Kirk. How much of this was about getting even?" Kirk paused. He looked at her, then down at his drink. "Does it matter if it was both?" he asked. "If it's the truth, it's still the truth." "It matters," Rashida said firmly, "because you use someone's pain to make a point, and that makes you part of the problem too." For the first time, Kirk didn't have a comeback. And just like that, the foundation began to shake under everyone. It wasn't just Mendeecees under fire anymore, it was the whole system. The way secrets were protected, the way women were silenced, the way pain was turned into plot lines and profit. The network faced pressure to respond again. Petitions were launched demanding accountability. Hashtags calling for Mendeecees' removal gained traction. And quietly, behind the scenes, contracts were being reviewed. Yandy received a call from one of the executives. Not about Mendeecees, not about Kirk, but about her. "We want to give you space," they said. Space to speak, to take control of your own narrative. And that's when Yandy knew. This was no longer about love, or betrayal, or even one scandal. This was about survival. This was about rebuilding from the ashes of everything she thought was real. And she was ready to rise. The final unraveling didn't come with shouting or viral tweets. It came in the form of silence, the kind that creeps in after everyone has said too much. A silence that follows the explosion and leaves only dust, broken trust, and quiet reckoning. Mendeecees had disappeared from the public eye, reportedly traveling out of state. No more lives, no more public statements, no more attempts at saving face. His absence spoke volumes, and for many, it was confirmation enough. Yandy, for her part, began the slow process of detaching herself publicly. She unfollowed Mendeecees on all platforms. She archived their posts. She removed his name from her bio. The fans noticed instantly, and the blogs were quick to cover it. Yandy finally walks away. One headline read, "She chose peace," read another. And maybe, for the first time in this entire saga, she actually had. But not everyone was ready to let the story fade. Kirk Frost, though momentarily quiet, had one more move left. And this one would rock the house completely. In a surprise appearance. On a podcast known for airing unfiltered celebrity interviews, Kirk laid it all out. "I didn't want to do this," he began, his tone calm. "But since people still questioning my motives, let me clear it all the way up." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a phone. "I recorded the conversation, not for clout, for protection, because I knew if this came out wrong, they'd twist it." He played an audio clip. In it, a muffled voice, clearly Mendeecees, could be heard saying, "She wasn't supposed to talk. I paid her to keep it quiet. I didn't think it'd go this far." The studio went dead silent. The podcast host, stunned, whispered, "You're saying he paid the model to stay quiet?" Kirk nodded. He called it hush money. I call it a confession. The clip went viral within minutes. Even fans who had defended Mendeecees to the bitter end couldn't argue anymore. This wasn't a rumor. This wasn't hearsay. This was a recording. And it wasn't just damning, it was career-ending. Almost immediately, the network released an official statement. In light of recent developments, we are placing Mendeecees on indefinite suspension from all love and hip-hop productions while we conduct a thorough review. We do not condone any behavior that compromises the safety or dignity of others. Brands dropped him. Sponsorships ended. Even those who once stayed neutral began to speak out. Mimi Faust tweeted, "What's done in the dark will always find its way to the light." Spice posted a video dancing with the caption, "Sometimes karma takes its time, but she never forgets." Rashida, meanwhile, gave her first on-camera response since the scandal erupted. In a heartfelt video, she addressed her fans directly. "I don't condone pain. Not from Kirk, not from anyone. I know this wasn't easy to watch. It wasn't easy to live through either. But I hope it teaches all of us something about accountability and silence, and how dangerous both can be." But the final word, the one everyone waited for, came from Yandy. Sitting in her living room, surrounded by candles, she filmed a video that would become the most watched moment in the show's history. "I loved a man who I thought would protect me," she said, her voice strong but filled with emotion. "But in the end, I had to protect myself. And more importantly, I had to protect other women who might have gone through the same thing and never said a word." She paused, wiping a tear. "To Tina, I'm sorry I didn't believe you sooner. To the fans who watched me stay silent, I hope you understand now why I had to walk away. Love doesn't mean ignoring the truth. Love means knowing when to stop lying to yourself." The comments flooded in. Hearts, tears, applause, messages of support. And for once, the internet agreed on something. Yandy had taken back her power. As for Kirk, he remained a complicated figure. Some saw him as a hero, others saw him as opportunistic. But no one could deny this. He changed the entire trajectory of the show with a single confrontation. And for better or worse, nothing would ever be the same again. In the end, the mysterious night that started it all became more than just a scandal. It became a catalyst for truth, for consequences, and for growth. The cast fractured, reputations burned. But from the wreckage, something else began to form. Clarity. The kind of clarity that comes when you stop pretending, stop protecting, and finally start telling the truth, no matter how ugly it may be. As the dust settled and the headlines began to fade, what remained wasn't silence. It was transformation. Lives had shifted. Alliances had been shattered. And in the ashes of scandal, the love and hip-hop universe found itself forced to reckon with its own reflection. This wasn't just a messy storyline. This had been a mirror held up to the culture they'd helped create. And now, everything felt different. Everything felt different. Mendeecees, once a respected figure in the franchise, was nowhere to be seen. Sources close to the production revealed he had left the country temporarily, retreating to an undisclosed location in the Caribbean to get space and reflect. Others weren't so generous. "He ran," one insider said bluntly. "He knew it was over." There were whispers of lawsuits from brands, from the network, and potentially even from Tina herself. The model had since retained legal counsel and was reportedly considering formal action. Though no charges had been filed, her camp made it clear she wasn't done speaking. And next time, it wouldn't be on Instagram, it'd be in court. Kirk Frost remained uncharacteristically quiet after the podcast bombshell. He'd said what he needed to say. The clip had done what it was meant to do. And whether people praised him or questioned him, one thing was undeniable. He had forced the truth into the open. Even his critics had to admit, without Kirk's persistence, none of this would have come to light. Rashida, while continuing to stand beside her husband, made her boundaries clear. She told producers she would not participate in any future episodes involving the fallout unless it focused on healing, not drama. "We gotta stop turning pain into performance," she said in a closed-door meeting. "If we're gonna keep telling stories, let's tell the whole truth." The network, rocked by backlash but driven by ratings, announced a new special, The Reckoning, a reunion-style segment where cast members would confront the aftermath of the scandal. It would feature unseen footage, behind the scenes, reactions, and one-on-one interviews with those who had been directly affected. But the centerpiece of it all would be Yandy Smith. When she stepped onto the set of The Reckoning, the entire crew went quiet. Dressed in all white, her expression was calm but unreadable. She sat down, took a breath, and began. I was loyal. Maybe too loyal. I believed in redemption. I believed in forgiveness. But what I forgot was to believe in myself. The host asked her the hard questions about her silence, about her doubts, about whether she ever suspected the truth. I suspected a lot of things, she admitted, but I didn't want to see them, because once you see them, you can't unsee them. And that means you have to do something. And I wasn't ready until now. Fans across the world watched, some with tears, others with rage. Some felt she should have spoken sooner. Others praised her strength for walking away. But no one could deny the raw, emotional weight of her words. By the end of the special, a new hashtag had taken over social media. Saf is stand with Yandy, even those who once criticized her rallied behind her message that silence can be a survival mechanism, but truth is the path to healing. As for the rest of the cast, they faced their own crossroads. Juju took a break from filming, citing emotional exhaustion. Spice channeled the drama into a powerful new song about betrayal and womanhood. Mimi began working with an advocacy group focused on supporting women in the entertainment industry who feel silenced or powerless. And Tina? She remained low profile. But every post she made now came with tens of thousands of supportive comments. She had gone from a nameless model to a voice for every woman who's ever felt trapped behind fame and silence. In the final moments of the special, the screen faded to black as Yandy spoke her last words. This ain't just reality TV, this is real life. And sometimes real life hurts. But that doesn't mean you stop living, it means you start living differently. The screen cut to credits, but the conversation was far from over. In the weeks that followed, fans continued to dissect every detail. The show's ratings hit an all-time high. The network promised more transparent storytelling moving forward, and a new energy took hold. One that didn't just crave scandal, but demanded substance. Because in a world where betrayal makes headlines and pain gets edited into cliffhangers, the real power lies not in what's said for the camera, but in what's said when the camera stops rolling. And this time, they finally listened. So here we are, at the end of a storm that started with one accusation and spiraled into a cultural reckoning. What began as a mysterious night between Mendeecees and a model quickly exposed deeper truths. Not just about the people involved, but about the silence that often surrounds power, loyalty, and pain in the world of reality television. Kirk Frost's decision to come forward wasn't just a plot twist, it cracked open a conversation that many had tried to avoid for years. And Yandy, she became the face of strength, of quiet suffering turned into public healing. For Mendeecees, the damage is done. Whether or not he returns to the spotlight remains to be seen. But the man who once wore the badge of redemption now walks under a shadow that won't fade easily. And for Tina, the woman at the center of it all, she's no longer just a name in a headline. She's a symbol for every woman who's ever been ignored, silenced, or doubted. But the biggest shift, it's you, the viewer. You saw the truth unravel in real time. You felt the tension, the betrayal, the heartbreak. And now it's your voice that matters most. What do you think really happened that night? Should Kirk have stepped in the way? He did. Did Yandy wait too long to act? Or was she protecting herself the only way she knew how? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We're reading every single one. If you felt something, learned something, or just want more stories that go deeper than the drama, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Because trust us, this world never stays quiet for long. This is just the beginning. Stay tuned,